Hello lovely people, welcome to my channel. My name is Fiona McWilliam. Today's video is about how to be a helper for someone who is grieving. I need to include a trigger warning in this video because it contains themes related to death and to suicide, so if you find these topics triggering, please don't watch any further. If you are in crisis and need to speak to someone urgently, you can follow the link below the video to find a suicide helpline in your country. There are trained and compassionate people ready to help you, and you can also call if it's for someone you're trying to help. They can give you advice. From where I am in the world, embedded in my social circles, there seems to be an epidemic of suicide. I have heard of 3 suicides of friends or friends of acquaintances in the last week, which is why the subject of today's video is about helping people who have suffered a loss. Before I get into it, I want to share with you all that there is hope. You can move forward following a loss. It's always shocking when someone dies unexpectedly and violently, and when it's a friend who's taken their own life, you are bound to feel guilt. Guilt is one of the so-called 5 stages of grief. However, the emotions listed as stages don't come up for people in the same sequence or hang around for a specified amount of time and then make room for the next one. Grief is messy, and it's perfectly normal to laugh one minute and cry the next. If your feelings are mixed and moving, then you're experiencing the full range of your emotions, which is a good thing. This means you're in touch with them and giving them the space to be able to process them. One of the hardest emotions to deal with that are brought up by grief is guilt. If you feel angry, you can exercise, shout, hit a pillow and get the anger out. If you are feeling heartache, sad and deep loss, you can cry the emotions out. Guilt is not so easy. If you are feeling guilt or blaming yourself in any way, it can be helpful to think of the events that led up to the death as a puzzle for which your part or lack of a part was only one piece. Break down the bargaining, the if-onlys that come up in your mind, and understand that you are not to blame. Everyone is responsible for their own mental health. You are responsible for yours, I am responsible for mine, and they are responsible for theirs. Focus on your intent. You love this person, you wish them the best, and you would never try to harm them. Express how you're feeling. You could write a letter to the person you've lost or speak to them as if they were there. Imagine what their response would be to what you're saying. Guilt sometimes results from needing to make sense of death, to work out why did this happen. And sometimes there is absolutely no reason. Guilt is not just an emotion, it's a core belief that we have done something wrong and must suffer for it. If it's the case, you must choose not to rehearse your guilt. Catch yourself when you're doing it and use a physical action, clap your hands, snap your fingers, and remind yourself to follow a different mental path. Deliberately focus on something else. Choose to forgive yourself and balance your life with positive experiences and thoughts. And most of all, choose to accept what cannot be changed. Secondly, someone moving through grief is likely to be experiencing disrupted sleep and eating patterns, insomnia or oversleeping. Lack of appetite or overeating are common in grief. It is vitally important to try to maintain regular sleep and eating patterns in order to stay strong enough to process the pain. In the case of insomnia, medication can help, for which you can consult your physician. If you are supporting someone who's grieving, offering to make a meal and checking in on them that they're eating regularly can really help. Thirdly, do not underestimate the impact of grief on how the mind functions. This is made worse by the disruption to sleep, and people will often experience forgetfulness or an inability to concentrate, problems following through a chain of activities to accomplish something. They might also experience sensory hallucinations of their loved one. This can all add up to the feeling that you are losing your mind. Just know that, like all things, this will pass. You will come back to your normal level of functioning in time once you've integrated the sharp end of your grief. I wish that our society was more understanding of grief and the consequences for people. I believe that leave from work should be extended and that it should be allowed for grieving the loss of friends and pets, which can be just as hard as losing a family member. So how can we help someone who's processing the pain of grief? First, let them know that you're there for them and you're sorry that they're in pain, and offer to listen if they want to talk. Listen, really listen. Practice sitting in silence and just accept and acknowledge their emotions. Second, do not try to talk them out of having any feelings that they're having. Don't say things like, "You shouldn't feel guilty." Yes, they should. Those are their feelings, and if they suppress them, it can make them worse. Third, don't give up on the support once the funeral is over. Acute grief lasts up to 2 months normally, but people will have bad days for up to a year after the death. You should keep checking in on them. Third, don't give up the support once the funeral is over. Fourth, offer practical support, such as bringing them to the doctor if needed, making meals for them, or helping with household chores. And fifth, and very importantly, look out for signs of depression, such as neglecting personal hygiene, alcohol or drug misuse, or talking about dying or suicide. In this case, reach out to them by saying that you are troubled personally by what they are doing, not doing, or saying, and say that perhaps they should look into getting help. Then support them to do that. You can also call a suicide helpline yourself for someone else to get help and guidance. It's best to seek help immediately if someone is talking about their own death. If your loved one's death was sudden, violent, or otherwise extremely stressful or disturbing, complicated grief can manifest as psychological trauma or PTSD. Being traumatized from the loss of a loved one can leave you feeling helpless and struggling with upsetting emotions, memories, and anxiety that won't go away. But with the right guidance, you can make healing changes and move on with your life. If this is the case, seriously, talking to a mental health professional and getting the treatment you need to get better. There are many great qualified therapists and counsellors out there. You can find lists of registered health professionals online with a simple search. I hope that you found the ideas in the video helpful. I have been Fiona McWilliam, Essential You Breakthrough Talk Therapist. Please do stay well. Take care of yourself and the people around you. Goodbye for now.